at it with the public vlogging. I didn't crack the mirror, but I did crack me. I don't have clamps that are big enough to get all the way in there. The song has just gone off and the light has turned off. Oh no. So many things are going wrong with this, you guys. So for the room, I wanted to have a couple of little DIY projects where I sort of take something that I really like and doing it on a budget. And one of those things is a giant bedroom mirror. Now I currently have a mirror in my bedroom and it's a pretty good size. It's about 1800 millimeters high by about 800 millimeters wide. And she's got like this beveled, not beveled, but she's got like a frame around it. And even though like the mirror itself is a pretty decent sized mirror, it has this edge. So it actually makes the mirror a lot thinner between here and here. So the style that I'm wanting to go for actually is probably more like the one Brit has in the picture here, but with a thinner frame. And a couple of months ago when Brit and I were on like major mirror obsessions, she was looking around for one for her house, and the issue was that all of the mirrors we were looking at were like $400, and that's pretty normal for a decent sized mirror. But we were saying like, you know, how can we do it on a budget? And I said, why don't you have a look online and see like the Facebook marketplace type groups and see if you can get something that's like an old bathroom mirror or an old sliding wardrobe mirror door for cheap, and then add your own frame to it. So that afternoon she went out, got a mirror for, I swear it was like $20 or something like that, and they added this beautiful frame to it, which I didn't picture them adding that frame, but the frame that they ended up adding was amazing. So I asked her how to do it, and I'm just gonna attempt to do that one again today. So what I did was I ran out and got a huge mirror, and like as you can see I get my whole body in it sideways. This is actually my second one that I'm trying. I'm gonna keep this honest, I'm gonna keep this real. So this is the first one that I broke, and I'm probably gonna have like 7 years of bad luck now. This is the back of the mirror pane here, and this is the part that broke off. So this mirror had a really different frame on it to what the one that I currently did. It had, in each corner, it had screws. And what I did was take a screwdriver and just take the screws out of the four corners and then gently hammer the frame out from the mirror. And what I sort of did wrong there was I let the Phillips head screwdriver slide under the silicone here. The Phillips head screwdriver went in under that when really I needed to sort of turn it on the side and position it so it was really pushing back the metal frame and not just simply going under the silicone, because it went under the silicone and then sent a crack down. So if you do happen to find a bathroom mirror like that and you wanted to try this DIY, just be careful when you are taking off the frame, just that you're not putting any direct hammering onto a mirror, and then you should be fine. The frames do come off pretty easy. This one here has a different frame, and I've just had a quick little look. So originally this edge was sort of tucked in there. Obviously you can't see any screws, it's like this plastic piece that sort of seals it. So I just did a little bit of experimenting and sort of lifted it up a little bit, used a pair of pliers to sort of twist it back and forward and gently lift it up. Luckily, the mirror itself only sits very slightly in the frame, and the frame extends quite far out. So I did have a little bit of leverage. I could be a little bit rough with this top piece, because as you can see, the top piece doesn't even come into contact with the mirror. So I could just sort of jimmy it out a little bit. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is just come along the side all the way over here. Sorry, you'll notice that the mirror has like this frosting on it. The previous owner said that they were painting and didn't really care about the mirror, but that's fine. That'll come off with Metho, and it meant that it was a really cheap mirror for me. So as I was saying, I'm just gonna go through and like jimmy that up a little bit and see if I can pull this entire top piece off. And then once I have that piece off and the bottom piece off, I should just be able to pull each side piece off. Okay, I'm just using my hands to pull this back, and oh, look at that. So I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but even just by pulling on this rubber insert that's in there, that sort of lifts lifts all of this away pretty easily. I just have to make sure down the bottom I'm not being too rough. Okay, that is 3 sides down. Just got one more. If I can do one more without splashing this mirror, I'm happy. Okay, I didn't crack the mirror, but I did crack me. I'm just gonna get a Band-Aid and I'll be right back. All better. Oh wait, it's coming through. I've never had that happen before. Even when I did it yesterday. Wear gloves, kids. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, double Band-Aid. Oh my God, it's coming through again. It's on the carpet. All right, now that I have cleaned up that murder scene, although this is still not looking great, I don't even know what to do about this, but I'm hoping that it's gonna stop bleeding so I can get on with my work. So many things are going wrong with this, you guys, but I'm determined to get it done, and I hope that maybe you guys can learn from my mistakes, but you know. All right, 4 Band-Aids later, and I think I'm good. It would be great if getting that first piece off was the hardest part, but who knows? With the way all of this video is going, I wouldn't be surprised if I like crack this again. I think I've got it. Yay! I'm just going to go through with the tape measure now and just double check the length of it so I know that I'm getting the exact measurement. 1973, 1115. So 1973 by 1115. Okay, so what I've gone and done now that we've managed to get that ugly bathroom frame off the mirror, I went and bought 4 pieces of, I think it was 68mm wide skirting. I think it was literally stuff that you use for skirting boards on your house. And it was already primed, which is good if you're gonna go and paint. And it's really cheap as well. I think it was like $12 for a 2.7 meter length. So I just had to get 2 of those in order to be able to accommodate for the entire mirror. And I've just taken that over to Dad's because obviously that's something that he's very good at. He can do it very quickly. And what he did was miter the edges. And that's just when you cut each of the edges to size, but also cut it on a 45-degree angle. So when the 2 edges come together, you have like a really clean line. Obviously, if you don't have the ability to do a miter, you could always just square them. However, the miter tends to look a little bit better. It means that the joins are a lot more concealed, and it is actually something you can do yourself. So my dad showed us 2 different ways that you can do it. Obviously, if you have a drop saw, it's very, very simple. All you've got to do is set your drop saw to the right angle and cut through at the right length. And then if you don't have a drop saw, you can always get a miter box, and that's just a very simple box that we can get from your local hardware store that has 45-degree cuts in it. So you just position your piece of timber inside the miter box and position your saw at the 45-degree angle and cut. And it works really, really well. It just doesn't give you as clean a line as what the drop saw would, but regardless, it's still gonna all come together the same and still look the same. So either of those works. Another thing that he did was he went and took a router, which is another tool, and he's cut a really small groove right down the center of the timber. It wasn't exactly in the center. We wanted to have a little bit more of the frame sticking out from the front than at the back. So I think it was about 15mm in from the back. We had this little groove, and we've actually cut that down 7mm thick, meaning that out of the 18mm thickness of the timber, we've cut in 7 of those millimeters, leaving 12 left over. So it's not gonna crack. We're definitely not cutting all the way through, just enough to be able to slot the mirror into. If you really wanna make the mirror and going through all the math of everything frightens you, then just use the same measurements as what we did. Having said that, I don't know if our mirror is actually gonna work out yet. We obviously haven't put the pieces together yet, but you'll know by the end of this video. Now that I've gone through all of that, My issue is that I had decided that we were going to be painting this thing, and I just keep reneging on what color I wanted to paint it. At one point, I did have this brilliant idea that I was going to use the earth tone colors that we have in the bedroom, but now I'm wondering if that's gonna look too cheap. But regardless, I went into the hardware store and had a look at some of these colors. And there are a few, like literally I just went and got all of the earth tones. I feel like these ones here, even though I love like my beiges and everything, it's not really gonna suit with the mirror. It's just gonna look like I was trying to paint it a timber color. So I don't think that's the way to go. I thought if I was going to paint the mirror a color, it would have to be something that really stood out. And one color that really stands out to me is this one here. This whole swatch, actually, I really love the terracotta chip, Italian clay, and Diva Rouge. Actually, the swatches in this one look cool too. They're just a little bit more on the brownier side, whereas these ones are very similar, just more pink. My other option is to go and do it just in white, but then I'm worried that white is gonna look too plain. But what I need to do is stop thinking about it, stop talking about it. I need to just go to Bunnings, grab one, and be done with it. So another thing that I'm dead set on having in our room is a nice print. And Britt suggested one that was more of a Moroccan theme that would bring in the colors of the room and just sort of add a bit more color, I guess. And so I've been searching around and I found a whole bunch of them that I really like. Just on the stock photo websites, I found ones like this. I don't know how well you can see it. Like, I like that because it's sort of got the peachy tones in it. It's got like some blues and some other vibrant colors. I think Britt suggested this one, and I really like this one. I'm also struggling to find this one in a bigger size, and it's really hard because even though a lot of the stock photo websites have really big sizes available and you just like purchase them and download them, I think even this extra large is only 46 centimeters wide by 75 centimeters long, and I need it to be bigger for the frame that I want, and I don't want to have to stretch the image, otherwise then you sort of lose image quality. This one is one of the ones that I really liked because of the circle, the cutout patterns, the color of the door. Just, I really like everything in that, but once again, that wasn't big enough. But now I think I finally settled on this one. It's actually quite dark in this picture, probably a little bit too dark when you consider having it up on a wall for art. So I've just gone on my phone and lightened it up a little bit. It probably doesn't look as good on camera because it is quite a bit lighter. So I'm just jumping onto the Officeworks website and I'm just, where is it? Print and copy. I think my size is going to be $20, which is not bad when you consider what you would spend if you buy a print in store. Upload. Okay. So that usually takes like, I think maybe 2 to 3 days, which is fine because I'm in like no rush to put up the image. Like, that will probably go up when the room's completely done anyway, but I just want to like start gathering everything together anyway. So cross fingers it doesn't take any more than 2 to 3 days, but I guess we'll see. Quick update. So I'm in the car. I actually got my text message pretty much straight away from Officeworks to say that my print had been like done. It was ready to collect. I guess maybe they didn't have as many projects to do that day. So I was like, in the car, let's go over and get it. That's one more thing I can tick off my list. I'm very much at this point feeling like this video is gonna have to stretch out over a couple of different videos because there's so many things that have like happened and gone wrong, and there's so many bits and pieces to it, and I suppose there's so much that I could cut out, like realistically, but at the same time I kind of want to show like the whole process of how it's done. So I figure if I break it up into 2, maybe hopefully not more than 2 videos, then I can show you guys some of the putting together of the pieces, and then the second video could be like the coming together of everything and like the final room tour, kind of like with Archie's, just split up into 2 videos. Okay, be back in a minute. Turn that car off, huh? Okay, let's see. and I love the finish of it. It's like a satiny, it feels really nice. Like a really thick perfection. Okay. Now for the next task. I think I need to go and get some paint. Okay, so I'm just at Bunnings and I need to sort out, I don't know, I'm really, my head is like all up in the clouds about these paint colors. So I'm just gonna send them through to Britt and see what she says. I feel like it would look good with a color on it, but then colors go out of style so quickly. I mean, I guess then you paint it, but what happens if I paint it like, I don't know, a color and it just looks cheap or just not quite right? She says, so many samples, but I'm drawn to Italian clay. Of course. It is such a beautiful color, but I do love a white chalk paint. That's what I did my pot in and I absolutely love it. And if it's too boring white, you can always paint over it again with a brighter color, which is true. I guess it makes more sense to paint it white, and then if I don't like it, it's easier to paint it a darker color than do it a dark color and then try and go over it in white. Okay, good thinking, Britt. Off we go. Let's get white. Okay, we want chalk. The chalk white. There we go. I'm gonna go that one. Okay, so now that I'm home and have changed my clothes and just thrown some drop sheets out on the floor out here, so I'm just going to chuck on a little scarf and get started. Here are the pieces of timber that my dad cut for me. As you can see, the cuts are like really nice and smooth, and what he did was just spray a little bit of primer over those grooves, because obviously the timber pieces that I purchased were already primed, which is awesome because then I didn't have to worry about that stage, and it's still relatively cheap. However, when you're cutting a groove out, obviously you're cutting away that primer to get the paint to stick on the inside of the grooves just as much as what it's sticking on the outside here. To be honest, that's not really something that I would do because you're not going to see the grooves. However, because my dad is a perfectionist, these are the things that we do, and guarantee you'll probably end up looking better in the end anyway because of it, because obviously with a mirror it's reflective, so you might see a tiny little reflection of the inside timber, so just by painting it you're going to avoid seeing that. Anyway, I best get started so this is nice and dry by this afternoon, and hopefully I can get it finished. I really want to have this finished by this afternoon. Oh, okay, so we are now, let me show you my undies right now. We are now on day 2 of doing that painting of the frame. I just went out there and did the second coat. I sort of ran out of time to do a bit more yesterday, and I wanted to do it when it was still light. So I've done the second coat, and then I'm gonna give it an hour to dry, and then I'll give it a sand and go over and do the third coat. I feel like it'll probably need a third coat just because it is a white and there were a few marks on the timber, just so it's like looking really nice and consistent. So in the meantime, I've just grabbed a few extra pieces of timber and I've gotten it in the 12mm thickness, and I'm going to just use it to brace on the back of the mirror just so it's got a little bit of extra strength to it. Obviously I don't want to go and break another mirror, so when we're lifting it up this will just provide that bit more security. So then Dad's just gotten me to go and run out and grab some regular old wood glue, like the wood PVA glue, and I'm just going to like literally just, I don't even think I'm going to measure it. I should, but I'm not going to, and then just brace it on. And this stuff takes about an hour to dry completely, 30 minutes to an hour to dry completely. However, it does say don't move it for 24 hours. So I might give it that long, but then again, the like impatient person in me wants to just like do it now. Like pick it up and put it together now. We'll see how we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just stick some heavy books on to really stick the glue down and let it dry. All right. So now that I have gone and painted 3 coats and sanded the edges of the frame. I'm just going to take the top piece, so I know that it's the top because of where we put the groove, and also when we were cutting each piece we put numbers just on the side in here so we would know which side connects to which side, just to make the piecing together process a bit easier. And we've also gone and done the little pilot holes in each side of the top, each side of the bottom piece, and then we've added some holes just on the end here that the screws can go into. So it really just is a matter of putting it all together. I'm really happy with the finish from the chalked paint, so I am happy that I went with the white frame, but I think I won't be 100% happy until I get it to the room and see how it looks up against the plain white wall. We may just have to like dress the edges of the mirror or something just to make it look a little bit more, I don't know, like a hero piece. Okay, so we've got this piece, which is, I'm assuming that side. Okay, so that is side one. The added benefit of doing those pilot holes also means that I can now just screw in with a screwdriver, which is going to be a whole lot quicker in a sense than pulling out my drill and doing it that way, and a lot less likely that I'm going to make a mistake and have a little accident. Shh. Alright, so this next step is totally not necessary, but I'm going to show you guys me doing it anyway because I can't really move the big mirror until James is home. So I'm just taking some multi-purpose filler and I'm bringing it down here to where we've got our little gaps. You'll see the indents where the screws have gone into the timber there. And I'm just going to fill my gaps up. And obviously that doesn't make too much sense seeing I've just gone to all this effort to paint and sand it, but it is just that one little area. So once it's dry, which should be in about an hour, I'm just going to go back through, sand it off so it's nice and smooth and flush, and then paint over it with some chalk paint. And I'll probably just paint over the little corners as well. Okay, so James is now home from work. I've just gotten a few couch cushions, which usually I wouldn't do. I don't like taking couch cushions off the couches, but I really want to rest the mirror on something where we can sort of rest it down flat, slide the mirror onto the frame, and then leave it overnight to just sort of like, because the glue will be in the very grooves of the mirror frame. So none of it's getting on the couch cushions. It's really just sitting there to sort of elevate the mirror and keep it from being like directly on the ground, if that makes sense. So this is the part that I'm the most nervous about because I've cracked a mirror before. I will probably crack a mirror again, but because we put those supports on the back of the mirror, I'm hoping that it's just gonna stay strong enough just to lift very carefully and put out here. Wish me luck. Okay, so I'll come over this way. I want it on its belly, I think. Bring it down.
Slightly lifting it up.
Good. Oh, I came very close to cutting my wrist just then. So happy. We got it here, so I think that's like the hardest part done. Wait, now we're just gonna like slot this frame on. And that is the final shot of what our mirror looks like. Oh my goodness, I am so happy with it. You'll notice that I've just taken the frosting off the mirror, and the way that I did that was probably not the best way to do it, but I did it that way anyway. Originally I had the idea of doing metho, but I was worried that was going to leave streaks, like those permanent streaks on the mirror. So I just took a Stanley knife and just semi-carefully scraped away the paint off the top. If you do want to do it that way, maybe even just get like a kitchen cooktop cleaner and scrape it away doing that. I was very careful along the way not to scratch the mirror though, because that would have been the worst after all of that trouble getting the mirror in the room. And you can just see that I've sort of hung it, or I've pushed it over to sort of off center on that wall, because I do want to put some other things on this side to decorate it all up. But yeah, loving it. Okay, so the next DIY that I wanted to do for this room is I want to have like a big white vase in the room to either, I've got two ideas for it. One would be to put it in the corner and then put like some palm stems in it, maybe on James's side, if I'm finding that the back wall that the bed's going on needs a little bit more color or something. Or the other alternative was to sort of tip it upside down and create like a stand or a stoop type thing that I could put some plants on, or a crystal or something like that to have next to my mirror. So it would just provide a little bit of dimension around that and a little bit of decoration around the mirror area. But it'll all depend on, you know, how everything's starting to come together. So in terms of actually getting one of those, they can be so expensive to get what I wanted. Like I wanted something with a little bit of texture. I wanted something that was sort of white and maybe like bringing in that sort of ceramic or like stone feeling again. So I've got this big plastic pot, which doesn't really go with our decor or anything like that. It's just sort of a red standard plastic pot, and I wanted to make it look stone. So what I'm going to do to give it a little bit more texture is I'm gonna go into the pantry to start with. Look, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some paper towel. I'm just gonna literally paper mache, sort of like dampen this with glue paste, and then stick the paper towel on in sort of like a crinkled up fashion, just to give it that bit of texture. And then once it all dries nice and hard, I'm going to paint it. And cross fingers, it has that stone feeling. It might not, but
it's squishy right now.
You are squishy right now. So I've got a big thing of craft glue or PVA glue here, and I'm gonna go outside and do this. I should probably change my skirt too, because this is not a PVA gluing skirt. Okay, that should be good.
Then why don't...
All right, so this is not actually as big as what I thought it was, but that's okay, because whatever size it is will work. So I'm just going to pour.
You're not allowed to put it on there.
I will clean it off, darling. Don't you worry. I'm the mum. I'm the one who makes the rules.
That's the pad for the bottom.
I know, but we won't need the pad for the bottom because I'm not going to put plants in it. Or I might, but if I do decide to put plants in it, don't worry. I will clean that thing off, okay?
Mom, I'm deciding which color we're going to make it.
Can we make it white?
We're going to make it into rainbow.
Really though?
Yes, sir. We are.
I don't know about rainbow. I don't know if it's going to go with my decor, babe. So I've just put my first sheet on, and I'm just quickly pasting some PVA over the top.
So, tell me what I'm going to do.
It's going to go nice and hard, and it's going to look like cement or concrete, and then we're going to paint it white so it looks like stone.
Stone?
Yeah, I want it to look like stone, like it's a stone pot, not a plastic pot.
Stone pot? So what are we gonna do with the paper? Why do we want it?
The paper's gonna stay on.
And a queen.
You're a queen.
Yeah.
You're something.
I'm actually the king.
The king, okay.
Queens are girls, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes they're girls and sometimes they're boys.
Yeah. You can be whatever you want to be, hun. If you want to be a boy queen, you can be a boy queen. If you want to be a girl queen, you can be a girl queen. If you want to be a king, you can be a king.
I'm gonna be a king.
You can be a king, babe.
I'm pretending I'm a king. I'm gonna be talking this time. I'm gonna be the projector.
Okay.
Really? What you? The projector always has to talk.
Okay, so this is the pot so far. It doesn't look good at all because you can still see all the joins and everything, but I'm feeling like that's something that will be able to be covered up when I start painting. Really, I just wanted it to look like a bit textury, which it definitely does do now. I'm just not sure if it looks exactly the way I wanted it to. So I'm actually going to let it dry for maybe, I'm gonna give it 24 hours so it can go really nice and hard with the PVA over the top. And then when I come back and have it all hardened, then I'll start painting. But I feel like I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far. Like, this is what I expected it would look like at this point. And obviously, once again, I won't know until I finish painting it if it is actually gonna look good. So cross your fingers for me. Okay, so we are on day 2. This is now dry and it's gone all like hard. It looks god awful. Like, it looks like it's been TP'd, but I'm hoping that when I paint it, it's gonna look the way I want it to. If not, I think I can still pull all this back. I can probably like sand it all back and try again, but cross fingers, we'll see. Okay. So the paint that I'm going to be using is a sample pot, or a small pot of the paint that we did all over our walls on the interior of our house. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep my paint consistent throughout the whole process of our room. So with the bed, for example, like, I want that to look built in, so it's going to be in that same white as well. Okay, so that is coat 1. It's sort of looking okay so far. I'm not sure yet. So I'm really not minding the texture of it at the moment. I like the way it looks. Like, this is sort of what I was wanting to go for, just something with a little bit of texture on it. However, in person, the feel of it is very paper mache like. Now obviously there's nothing wrong with that because it is paper mache. That's exactly what it is, and not too many people are going to be coming into the room and touching it, so I could just continue with the painting as I was doing until it's completely finished. However, I don't know, I'm on the fence about it still because of that paper mache feel. So I've just gone out and grabbed some Jovi air dry clay. Oh, there we go. I've used this before to create like Christmas decorations with the kids, and I'm just gonna roll it out really thin and attach it to the outside of the pot. And then it just dries in 24 hours. So I'll go from wanting to have this clay look pot to having technically like a clay pot. And I know that because I've already got this first layer of paper towel attached to it, that this is going to attach to that really, really well. I don't have to like prime the pot or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll touch base with you guys on how that's going. Okay, so that is my finished pot. I still haven't done the top because I'm thinking I might put something else on top of that, but yeah, you can see it's already starting to change color down the bottom because it's a very like clayey color at the moment, whereas down the bottom here it's starting to whiten, which it does as it dries. So I'm going to give it 24 hours to sort of cure, and then we'll see how it's looking. But I'm quite happy with that texture now. In fact, I'm really happy with that texture now. Okay, and that is how it came up. There were a few little cracks that showed up along the way, which was kind of a bummer. I was thinking I would just keep the cracks and it would sort of add character to the pot, but then I realized that if I got some fill that I used on the mirror and filled in the cracks, and that would kind of look cool as well. And I like that I've sort of kept it really rough with all of the fill around on the edges, kind of like an imperfect rendering, which I really like. I really like on those like white Tuscan buildings and everything. They have all this beautiful imperfect rendering. So I like it. I actually do. You may not like it, but it's my vibe. And I made this platter with Brit about a year ago when we were doing these pottery classes, and I hadn't really thought of a place that I wanted to put it. So I thought if I sit it on top like this, it kind of creates like a cool little side table. So it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but for me, I like that it's a bit abstract. I like that I've sort of made it myself. I like that it's white. I like that it's got that stone sort of feeling to it. That's exactly what I wanted in the first place. It's got that sort of wabi-sabi vibe to it. So I'm digging it. I think it goes with the bed. It goes for what the vision of the room was. So I'm gonna stick with that for now. Whether or not I'm creative enough to dress it properly and make it look good with a few like accent pieces, I don't know, but I do like this this whole situation as it is. Moving on to the next task. So now I'm just going to quickly duck out to the shop and maybe get a few of our decor items. I've taken a picture of the list on my phone, which I cannot figure out how to unlock right now. The joys of having a new iPhone. And yeah, I may as well just try and grab as much of it as I can so then it's here and I can start placing it around the room and seeing what works and what doesn't, I think. Hopefully it's going to be really hard without the bed though. Back at it with the public vlogging. I feel like something like this, it's like a pinky brown, would be good, but I need to decide what colour my quilt is going to be first. Okay. So we want something that's like a pinky, a natural pink, like a peach. I think I've got some fuchsia at home. Do I try mixing it with that? Some fuchsia and some tangerine with like a pebble beige just might go peach, I hope. So I'm probably just going to get this dye, even though it's probably going to be the wrong colour anyway. I tried calling James to see what fabric dyes we had at home because I want to try and mix them together, which just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. But I'm going to try it anyway because I really want the bed cover not to be quite so white that it's going to clash with the frame. And I feel like rather than buying a whole new linen bed cover, I'm just going to use the one that I have, because the one that I have is a very high quality and was very expensive anyway. So, you know, cross my fingers that I don't ruin it, but worst comes to worst, I can just bleach it out. So, I have just gotten home and I don't know if this is going to work out very well. I've grabbed like Diamond Pebble Beige and then I had a pack of Rit, like a peachy tangerine colour, and then I have put in like a half pack of like the fuchsia colour, like fabric dyes, and I'm just going to try and mix them all together to see if I get the combination I want. That is sort of what I'm going for. Like I want like a washed outy pinky peachy colour. So long as it's a dull colour, so long as it's not too bright, I should be okay. And so long as the fabric doesn't go, so long as it doesn't dye unevenly, I think I'm trying to say. I may even just get like a little container and put a sprinkling in it and see, like with a test strip of fabric or something, see what colour that comes out, and then that way I can sort of determine whether it's going to be a total failure or if it's something that we can work with. Ooh, okay. Yeah, go in. I should really be doing this with gloves on. And then if we squeeze it out, because obviously some of this washes out, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So I feel like, oh, should be watching where I'm putting my hands. It should be all right. I wonder if I even like try doing half first and half later. I feel like I'm just gonna have to just do it and see how it goes. And then I guess I can always like dull it down by just putting it through like a nappy sand wash, like a fabric whitening wash if it's a bit too dark, and see how it comes up. Let's just do it. I'm just gonna do it. Okay, so the song has just gone off and the light has turned off. Oh no. Holy moly, it's so dark. Ugh. That's like watermelon. Well, that's tangerine. How did it go that dark? My God. Okay. I'm just gonna wash it again and put a crap ton of nappy sand in there. Okay, so I'm gonna chuck it on a soak, rinse it 3 times, spin it low, and do Is it cold? Okay. Okay, so it is like 3 AM in the morning and I'm up as per usual. But I've just gone and checked on the sheets and it's so much better. Look at what I saw. It is like, I think like the perfect peach that I wanted. It's still quite dark when you look at the sheet all as a whole, and because it's still damp, like it's still, you know, it's still a bit dark and it actually looks a bit lighter on camera. But I think once it's laid out flat and it's not scrunched all up and it's dry, I think it's going to be perfect. And what's the best thing about it is that it has colored evenly. Yes, finally things are starting to work out. I have put a few things together. Just take you upstairs. I've put a few things together out of like my purchases and things that I want to just like have in the room to accent it. I still have other things around the house that I think I'll bring in. Like I think our salt lamp that's currently downstairs, I want to get a bigger one for downstairs and bring that one, that one up here. And then I've got these things. So we've got the print. I got a frame that would fit. This is just a Kmart one. Then I've got, which actually like really nicely ties the timber colors in, this piece of fabric from Spotlight, which I have been frothing over. It's just really basic, like a natural woven fabric with these little brownie tassels, which sort of come in, I guess, from there as well. It's a very earthy color. And then we've got this stripe fabric that I was going to do the pillowcases with. Probably should do that today. I have this little clamshell that James bought back for me when he went on a work trip. I have these, which I've had, I got these from Fiji when I was like 15 and I've just had them for years. So bring those in. This planter, it's another Kmart one. I'm just gonna pop an IKEA plant in there. So I can see here that like they sort of go together. There's not that many like statement stick out pieces right now. It's just like a few bits and bobs on my bed, but I guarantee it will come together soon. While I'm here, I may as well just go through and put this picture in, hey? Okay, so I am obsessed with these frames. They're so pretty. It's the same frame that I got to put Archie's star chart in. A few of you guys actually asked me where I got that frame. It was just a Kmart frame, like $20, and you get this really big, beautiful poster frame with the box frame, which is going to be the same as our mirror, so it'll really tie in nicely together. I have extremely weak nails, so I don't lift these tabs very well at all. Ow. Pop my print in. Should fit perfectly. Yes. And just to give it a little bit of thickness in the back so it's in there nice and tightly, I always go and put all these pieces back in. Okay, that's all of them. Yes, that is what I wanted. Perfect. Now let's see. Yes, oh my gosh, you guys, it's gonna go with the bed so well. Ah, I'm so happy with that. That's one thing that's worked out well.
It needs to be millimetre perfect, can't guarantee that.
Yeah, okay. We've got like this natural timber underneath. I feel like in my mind, this was gonna be a really easy task.
Well, that was a bit weird sound.
This is gonna be